told you the United States once tried to buy an island the size of Mexico, that a sitting president offered gold, literal gold for it, and in the 21st century the same idea came roaring back, not as a joke, but as a serious geopolitical play. Greenland, an Arctic expanse of ice, rock, and untapped potential, has become one of the most unlikely flashpoints in global geopolitics. Behind the headlines and hot takes lies a century-old obsession driven by Cold War strategy, critical minerals, missile defense, and a race for Arctic dominance. Why does the US want Greenland so badly? What does Trump's renewed push to acquire it mean for global power dynamics? And could a tiny population on a frozen island really stand in the way of a superpower's ambition? This isn't just about buying land, it's about owning the future of the Arctic. And in this game of ice and influence, the stakes couldn't be higher. The idea of the United States acquiring Greenland might sound like a headline from a satirical news site, but it has a deep historical roots and very strategic underpinnings. US interests in Greenland stretch back more than a century, long before Donald Trump made headlines with his 2019 proposal to buy the island. In 1946, President Harry Truman even offered Denmark $100 million in gold for Greenland, recognizing its value as a Cold War outpost. Since then, the US has maintained a military presence on the island through the Batufik Air Base, a critical early warning site for missile detection. When Trump floated the idea of purchasing Greenland, it wasn't a completely novel thought, but the boldness and timing of the suggestion shocked both Denmark and Greenland, especially given the island's autonomy and historical sensitivities. From a US geopolitical standpoint, Greenland is a treasure trove of opportunity. Strategically located between North America and Europe, it offers unmatched surveillance capabilities over the Arctic and the North Atlantic, including the GIUK Gap, a key maritime choke point. The island also boasts an abundance of rare earth minerals, oil, and gas potential, all of which are becoming more accessible due to melting ice caused by climate change. Trump and his allies have argued that the US control over Greenland would bolster national security, secure supply chains for critical minerals, and ensure America isn't left behind in the rapidly escalating Arctic rivalry with Russia and China. Trump himself called Greenland vital to America's interests and signaled that acquiring it would be a strategic masterstroke to ensure long-term dominance in the Arctic. However, Trump's renewed push in 2025 during his second term has sparked fresh controversy. His blunt declarations, like "we have to have it," have alarmed both Greenlanders and Danes. Greenland's Prime Minister firmly rejected any idea of a sale, emphasizing the islanders' right to self-determination. While some US lawmakers have floated satirical legislation like the Red, White and Blue Land Act, the geopolitical stakes are no joke. Trump's pursuit has strained relations with allies, drawn condemnations for imperial overtones, and ignited broader debates about Arctic sovereignty, indigenous rights, and global power projection. Whether or not Trump's ambitions ever materialize, Greenland's newfound role in the center of the 21st century geopolitics is no longer in question. From a geopolitical perspective, Greenland occupies a uniquely strategic position that makes it a linchpin in US national security planning, especially in an era of renewed great power competition. Its location between North America and Europe places it in the heart of the Arctic, an increasingly vital region as melting ice opens up new military and commercial routes. Control over Greenland would give the US expanded oversight of the GIUK Gap, which is Greenland, Iceland and the UK, a maritime choke point critical for tracking Russian submarine movement in the Arctic. The space base in Greenland already serves as a crucial radar and early warning outpost for ballistic missile defense, By expanding US control or presence, American strategists believed they could create an unmatched surveillance and missile defense bastion across the Arctic frontier, securing the northern approaches to North America against both Russian and Chinese advances. Greenland also factors heavily into the evolving Arctic resource race. As climate change accelerates, ice is melting, previously inaccessible mineral and energy deposits are coming into reach. Greenland is home to an estimated 25 out of the 34 critical minerals crucial for high-tech industries and defense systems. With the US currently dependent on China for most of its rare earth supply, Greenland offers a potential alternative both for resource security and to counter Beijing's growing Arctic influence. Trump's administration has openly framed the acquisition of Greenland as a way to preempt Chinese investment and shut out competitors. In this logic, buying Greenland, or at least securing greater leverage over it, is not just about expanding territory, it's about denying adversaries a foothold in one of the last relatively untapped strategic frontiers. There is also a broader ideological component to the US argument. Under Trump, ensuring Arctic dominance before rivals can. Russia has been militarizing its northern coastline, reopening Soviet-era bases and expanding its icebreaker fleet, while China has declared itself a near-Arctic state and invested heavily in polar infrastructure and scientific expeditions. Against this backdrop, Trump's position is that the US must act boldly to maintain its lead, viewing Greenland as a geopolitical prize that could anchor long-term American influence in the region. By incorporating Greenland into the US sphere, Trump envisions a future where America not only controls a critical portion of the Arctic, but also sets the rules of engagement for commerce, defense, and governance in the high north. In this zero-sum world, failing to assert dominance in Greenland now could mean ceding the Arctic to rivals later. So what? Despite Trump's persistent interest and clear strategic rationale, the likelihood of the United States successfully acquiring Greenland is exceedingly low. Legally and politically, Greenland is not for sale, and more importantly, it doesn't want to be sold. Since 2009, Greenland has enjoyed broad self-rule within the Kingdom of Denmark, with its own parliament and government. Under Danish law, Greenlanders have the right to determine their own future, including the possibility of full independence one day. In repeated statements from 2019 to 2025, Greenlanders' leaders have firmly rejected any notion of being purchased, with the Prime Minister declaring Greenland cannot be bought. Polls show overwhelming opposition among Greenlanders, and Danish officials have constantly ruled out any kind of deal, seeing the proposal as an affront to national dignity and sovereignty. Moreover, even if the US sought to increase its footprint in Greenland through investment or defense cooperation, as it has done in recent years, there are hard limits to how far their influence can go without sparking backlash. Greenlanders are deeply sensitive to their colonial history and have voiced strong concerns over environmental protection, indigenous rights, and the risk of being used as a pawn in the global power struggles. Trump's blunt and transactional language has only fueled distrust. Attempts to pressure or entice Greenland into closer alignment could easily backfire, pushing it towards greater independence or encouraging deeper ties with alternate partners like the EU or even China, which has courted Greenland through infrastructure and mining proposals in the past. From a diplomatic standpoint, most US allies view Trump's Greenland ambitions as provocative, unnecessary, and destabilizing. NATO, of which Denmark is a founding member, is unlikely to support any move that appears coercive or imperialistic. Even within Washington, there is a divide. While Trump loyalists back the idea, many diplomats, military officials, and intelligence experts argue that the US can safeguard its Arctic interests through partnership, not ownership. The opening of a US consulate in Nuuk and growing economic aid are seen as smarter, softer strategies. In the end, the notion of the US acquiring Greenland, whether through purchase, persuasion, or pressure, remains politically unfeasible, diplomatically risky, and culturally tone deaf to the people who actually live there. In the icy expanse of the Arctic, Greenland may seem remote and quiet, but it sits at the centre of the growing storm. For the United States, it's a strategic gem. For China and Russia, it's a contested frontier. And for Greenlanders, it's home, one they're not willing to sell. From Truman's gold offer to today's Arctic chessboard, the story of Greenland is far from over. The island may not change hands, but it will shape the future of global power, climate politics, and the next great rivalry playing out under the polar sun. Thank you for watching. If you have found this eye-opening, then hit the like button and subscribe for more geopolitical deep dives. And let us know in the comments, should the US have a bigger presence in the Arctic, or is this a step too far? Also, check out the video on screen now, as the YouTube algorithm thinks you'll like it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. See you!